Everybody knows the name Frankenstein. I bet if you stopped 100 people on the street, 98 or 99 would have something to say about the name Frankenstein. And what most of them would say is, oh yes, Frankenstein. He's a giant green monster with bolts in his neck. Well, the first misconception is that Frankenstein is not the monster. Frankenstein is the name of the scientist and in fact medical student, he's not even a doctor yet, who builds this creature. In the novel itself, the creature never has a name. He's called the Wretch, he's called Monster, he's called Creature. There are quite a few names for him. In fact, Mary Shelley, the author, called him her hideous progeny. So the monster has no name. He is simply the creation of the scientist, who actually starts out with a very optimistic and positive intention. His goal, as he says, is to solve the problem of death. He says that none of us should have our loved ones, those closest to us, die. And so he takes his learning while he's at university. He builds his monster. He looks down at the creature and he goes, "Great God, beautiful?" And his first reaction is to run away from the thing that he's made. So our monster begins life without a mother, but he also starts life without a father because his father has abandoned him. In fact, modern psychologists read the novel today as largely a story about parental abandonment. What happens when the creator of the young child simply leaves it to its own devices? So this creature begins his life out in nature, which he finds to be beautiful. It's his interactions with humans that cause all the problems in the novel. It's true to say that he becomes almost a sort of serial killer, but those he's killing are the loved ones of Victor Frankenstein.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hollywood, of course, had a different idea. Hollywood, starting in 1931 with the famous first major edition of the film, produced Boris Karloff in the famous image of the flat-headed person that we now call Frankenstein with the electrical bolts in his neck. Mary Shelley doesn't even tell us that it was electricity that was the secret of his creation. In fact, she leaves that secret completely a secret. There are virtually thousands of film versions if we travel around the world. One of the earliest forms of film reproduction made by Edison himself was the Frankenstein story. He created a foot-tall monster. He set fire to it. He filmed the creature burning down to a pile of ashes. And then, as most modern film goers can easily imagine, he played the film backwards. And the monster rose up out of the ashes and reassembled himself into his full form. That's the earliest version we know about, although there were stage plays all throughout the 19th century. Like a lot of female authors at the time, Mary Shelley left her name off the title page. So the first edition in 1818 appears without an author's name. It became an almost immediate bestseller, partly because it was extremely well written by this 18-year-old young woman, but also because people were curious about who was the author. Of course, a lot of its first reviewers found the tale to be terrible or horrible because, as many scholars since have said, Mary really invented the genre that we now think of as science fiction. In fact, in the novel Frankenstein, it's important to say that the monster does not die. He disappears in the darkness and the distance, but we can see why Hollywood likes an ending like that for a novel, it allows for sequel after sequel after sequel. But it is true that he has revisited us, as many people say, in our daytime imaginings and in our nighttime dreams for at least 200 years now.